Hello everyone, in this Python and Pygame library tutorial we will learn number 1, how to draw rectangles in Pygame, and number 2, how to move rectangles around the animation screen in Pygame. The Pygame library is a powerful library for creating animations and computer games in Python. The Pygame library can also be used for animating the dynamics of mechanical systems, mechanisms, and mobile robots. But before I start with explanations, I need to mention the following. It took me a significant amount of time, energy, and planning to create this video tutorial, as well as more than 450 video tutorials that you can find on my YouTube channel. And consequently, I kindly ask you to press the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks a lot. Okay, let's start. First, let's learn how to draw a rectangle in Python. Before we explain how to draw a rectangle in Pygame in Python, it is important to understand the coordinate system orientation in the Pygame animation screen. Here is the Pygame animation screen. It's represented by this black rectangle. The x-axis is in this direction and the y-axis is in the downward direction. In Pygame, the rectangle object is defined by this reference point, that is, by the top left corner of the rectangle, and it is defined by height and width of the rectangle. First, let us learn how to draw a static rectangle in Python. The first step is to install the Pygame library. You can do that by opening a terminal or opening the Anaconda terminal and by typing pip install Pygame. And as you will see over here, this requirement is actually satisfied in my case. This is because I already installed the Pygame. However, in your case, you will see the installation progress over here. Okay, once you install the Pygame library, we can continue with coding. The first step is to import the Pygame library. We do that by typing import Pygame. The next step is to import the time library. Note that the time library is the classical Python library. I need this time since I need to pause my screen for a certain amount of time. Next, we will call this function pygame.init to initialize all the important Pygame modules. Next, we need to define the animation window size. I will type size is equal to width, height, and I will specify 1600 as the width and the height will be 800 pixels. And now if you type size, you will see that the size is a tuple where the first entry is the width and the last entry is the height. Next, we need to create a display surface. For that purpose, we will use the function called pygame.display.setMode. Consequently, I will write the following. Screen is equal to pygame.display.setMode. And over here, I will specify the following input argument. I will specify the size of my screen. This function pygame.display.setSize will actually return this object called screen. Screen is of a type surface, and surface is used to represent any image in Pygame. Let's see now what will happen if we run this piece of code. Here is the screen. However, if you try to close this screen, you will have an issue. To close this screen, over here, we actually need to call another command. We need to call pygame.quit. This function will actually close the screen. So keep this function always at the end of your code. Next, we need to specify the color of the rectangle. The color is specified by defining a tuple with 3 entries. In my case, the name of the tuple is color rectangle. The first entry corresponds to the red component, the second entry corresponds to the green component, and the last entry corresponds to the blue component. In my case, the rectangle will be colored with the bright yellow color. Consequently, over here I will write 255, 255, and the last entry will be 153. To define the rectangle in Pygame, we need to specify the coordinates of this reference point, that is the top left corner of the rectangle, and we need to specify the width and the height. Let's do that. The x-coordinate is equal to 300 pixels, the y-coordinate is equal to 300 pixels, the width of the rectangle is 300 pixels, and the height of the rectangle is 200 pixels. To draw the rectangle, we need to use this function, pygame.draw.rect. Then, the first input argument is actually the screen. The second input argument is the color. And the third input argument is this tuple. The first entry of this tuple is actually the x component of the top left corner. And over here, we actually need to do this. We need to convert this value into integer. Then, the second entry is the y-coordinate of the top left corner. The third entry is the rectangle width, and the fourth entry is the rectangle height. And that's it. Let's try to run this code. And let's see the output. We don't see anything over here. This is actually natural. We didn't call the function for updating our screen. Let's go back to our Python editor. Over here, execute this function to close the animation window. To actually display our rectangle on the animation window, we need to type the following: pygame.display.flip. The function flip will actually update the surface image. Now, let's run the code. And here it is. This is our rectangle. Perfect. Now let's go back to our Python code, close the animation window, and let's do the following. Let's introduce a small delay. For example, let's call the function time.sleep, and let's set the sleep parameter to 10 seconds. Now, what will happen over here, we will display the image for 10 seconds and the window will automatically close. Let's do that. And here we can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's it. Perfect. Next, let's learn how to animate the motion of our rectangle around the screen. In order to make this video tutorial as short as possible, I will paste the code that I wrote previously. First, we need to import the Pygame library. Then, we need to import the NumPy library. Then, we use this function to initialize all imported Pygame modules. This function is used to create a block object that is used to track time. We set the window size, and over here we create our animation screen. Next, we specify the color of our rectangle, and we specify the rectangle width and height. Over here we define two NumPy arrays that are used to define the top left corner of the rectangle. The x values will start from the pixel number 300 and they will end at the pixel number 800. In between we will have 500 steps. The y coordinate is equal to x coordinate. This definition will create a rectangle that will move along the straight line. The animation of a moving rectangle is created frame by frame. We create every frame by actually drawing a rectangle. From one frame to another, the top left corner of the rectangle will move and will take the values defined over here. We'll take x of y values and y of y values, where I is the frame index that starts from 0. In this while loop, we actually animate the motion of the rectangle. This while loop is executed until the index I of the current frame exceeds the length of the array x. Note over here that we are always incrementing the index I. Over here we create the close window event. Next, we use this function to fill the surface with the background color, that is, with the black color. This function is used to erase the previous frame. If you do not call this function, the rectangles from the previous frames will be kept. Over here, we draw the rectangle. We use the function Pygame draw.rect. We specify the screen reference, we specify the color, we specify x and y coordinates of the top left corner of our rectangle, and over here we specify the rectangle width and the rectangle height. We update the screen over here, we introduce a small delay, and over here we limit the runtime. And finally, we increment the index I. And that's it. Let's run this code and let's see our animation. Here's our animation. Perfect. Okay, that would be all for today. I hope that you liked this video. If you like the videos I'm creating, please press the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks a lot and have a nice day.